Karma works fast for the advanced. I was given this piece almost 6 years ago, maybe 5. Wrote it in my green book. You can find a story around it in my purple book, which is Effortless Reality. And it is true, and I had a moment of validation again just the other day. But 5 years make a big difference. And what I realize now is that it is still true, and I feel that karma acts fast, not as a punishment, not as like dire consequences, but as you have cleared up some of that deep subconscious guilt, shame, regret, whatever, anger, fear, whatever has been cleared up out of your subconscious, things feel a little bit lighter. And as they are lighter, they come faster. Who knows? You can think of it as Newton's second law, F is equal to ma8. Here's the physicist again for you. But it does feel lighter, and obviously things can come faster into our reality, and it no longer feels like a consequence. I've never thought karma is a punishment simply because I don't like the ideas of punishment. It just feels so dreary and depressing, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you're thinking about all the mistakes in the past. It's like, now I have to pay for them. I don't mind taking responsibility, and I don't mind making amends or going out there and correcting my mistakes. It's just that idea of that there's a certain amount of consequences that you had to go through to kind of pay your karma. Always, I found it depressing. And so it's not surprising that my view of karma was always, I kind of avoided it, didn't want to talk too much about it. Well, it was more about ethics until, of course, I did my Course in Miracle lessons more than a decade ago, and then it hit me that it's just about the correction. And maybe that's why that book has always been so powerful, resonating with me, because it cleared up all that hung-ups I had on, oh my goodness, all the mistakes, all the bad things I've done or thought or said, and regrets. And but the book said, hey, they're mistakes. Let's just go fix them. We'll show you how to fix them, and that's it. And once you you correct your mistakes, you're done. You're done. So it was a very empowering, uplifting message for me. And of course, I would stick with such a spiritual text versus the other texts. But for a while, it was simply an intellectual understanding, a permission slip. It's like, okay, you're allowed to think that way. Don't worry about karma. Don't worry about paying back and all that stuff. There's always a way for you to make amends, correct your mistakes, move on. But it didn't sink into my heart until somewhere around the Christmas of 2020. We were in the middle of a pandemic shutdown, and I remember trying to buy these cute little boots from a department store, and it was all online. Remember, everything was shut, and Christmas and the winter was approaching, and I didn't have boots, and so I chose them, and I pulled out my credit card, paid for the boots, and got them shipped to my house. And then I started waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think I did this somewhere in October or November, because by the time Christmas rolled, I realized that these boots are not coming at all. It has been 2 months. So I picked up the phone and went through the customer service of that department store, managed to talk to a person, and canceled the orders. Like, okay, guys, sorry, but nothing has been received. I don't know what is going on. So they were very nice and gave me the money back. And immediately the day after, I got my boots. So I thought, let me just walk them a little bit for a couple of days, because I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them. A lot of times shoes look so nice, but then they just give you blisters or they hurt, and I hate that part where you have to walk for them for weeks, maybe days, and with all band-aids. So I usually, if I can, I will just walk a little bit with the shoes with labels and everything at home just to see how it is and if it's worth my effort to go through that breaking of new pair of shoes. But you see, one thing led to another and I forgot. I liked the shoes, they were comfortable, they never hurt my feet, but I forgot to call back the department store. And so here's the interesting development. At the same time, I decided to buy a makeup piece. I think something was running out, mascara, I believe. And so I called the same department store and I already knew my brand, my type. I just needed a refill. So I just called them and I went online and chose my brand and my style and ordered it. It came very quickly within 3-4 days and I opened it and it was completely defective. And you know, this is where normally in my past, I would have been, okay, look at this, what is happening, the world is breaking apart. And it is true, the world is breaking. I don't know if you have noticed. I mean, it's getting more and more difficult not to notice how broken and how falling apart the world right now is. But strangely, my first thought was like, hey, you never paid for your shoes. It's been like several days and you still did not pay for your shoes. You should call. It's not like I didn't want to pay. I kept forgetting. And then I was dreading going through that process of calling. I wish there was a way for me to hop online and say, hey, here's my credit card, done. But there was none. So I had to go through the calling. You know, you have to get the customer representative and wait in line. But when the mascara came completely defective, my first thought was like, oh wow, let me go on the phone and pay for those shoes that originally I paid, but I got my credit and I should tell the department store that they should charge me. And so I called. Interestingly enough, I did not have to wait at all. Almost immediately, I was transferred to a sales representative and I explained the situation that I paid and then I got the refund, but eventually I got the shoes and I like them, so I prefer to keep them. So here I am with my credit card, ready to give them my number and pay for the shoes again. So I thought they'll just say, okay, we know the price. But it turned out that in this 2-3 months period, the shoe prices had dropped. And they say, okay, we cannot charge you for the original amount. We have to look at the new price and you have to pay the new price. And you would think like, oh, now the price is higher, right? But it turned out that the price was lower. And the amount by which it was lower was exactly equal to the cost of my mascara. And this is why, again, my scientist brain and my eyes like, wait a minute, what are the chances? Maybe it is a coincidence. But you know what? I'm way past that state of playing this life from the perspective of coincidences. It's been at least 10 years since I have started viewing everything that happens as there's a deeper meaning. It's not a matter of is it true or is it not. It's a matter of choice. If you play life with this set of rules, you're playing one game. If you play life with this set of rules, you get a completely different game. And so once I started playing life with the rules of synchronicity, reason for that, personal responsibility, spiritual growth, the quality of my life improved so much. I never wanted to go back to the other set of rules. So again, it's not about belief and truth. It's not about, is it true? Can I go and prove it in a, double-blind, placebo-controlled experiment so I can actually go and write an article in a peer-reviewed journal? None. You don't need to do that. That is one form of science, but it doesn't have to be the only form of science. There are people who like to do that. Go ahead. A lot of statistics, correlations, yada, yada. I am a scientist, but I don't like to play that game very much. My game, I also claim it as a scientist game, is slightly different. Select a bunch of rules, apply them to your life, and see if you like that game. That's it. All you have to do is just prove it to yourself. You don't need to go prove to anybody else anyway. And so circling back to those shoes, that story actually went into my book. The actual guidance about karma working fast, because I asked my guides, my higher self, the Holy Spirits, like, am I imagining it? And you can see the actual guidance. It went into the Green Book Meditations in, I believe it's chapter 48, the paragraph 1. But I actually put the whole story in the Purple Book, Effortless Reality, so you can actually see the context, how it happened, why it happened. And the reason why I was reminded of the story today is because I had a similar moment this weekend. On Sunday, I had a conversation with my daughter. I asked how school was going and about her friends, and I discovered that there was an old friend from her elementary school with whom she did not keep in touch anymore. So I was, as a concerned mother, it's like, okay, is there some concern, an issue that I need to be concerned? And no, nothing. It's just the typical girl stuff. Sometimes you're just friends, and sometimes things fall apart. And that is when I said something that was kind of, being the mom, and I like to be overprotective, and of course my own child is the best, the best advocate for my children. But I crossed the line, and I was a little bit, I put there, I threw a not a unkind comment about that old friend of hers. And in hindsight, the moment I said it, it was exclusive, and it was unfair and unkind and uncalled for. And I didn't feel right. And actually, my daughter, leave it to the Gen Z kids, she called me on it. It's like, Mom, there's so many people who do that. What's the big deal? I'll just move on. We don't have to say those things. And so I was a little bit ashamed and regretting that comment, but I didn't. But then I just kind of distracted myself with other things, like, okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, and that was that. But it didn't really sink honestly down deep into my heart. I didn't sit with that comment. I didn't recognize the deeper aspect of it, that when you're being unfair or unkind to others, your subconscious always listens to you. And what you say, it's hearing it for yourself. So Sunday rolls and Monday morning comes, and then I discovered that my weekly newsletter that comes out on Monday morning was not in my mailbox. So I am subscribed to my own newsletter just to keep an eye on the technical glitches to make sure everything goes fine. And it was not there. It's like, what? First, I thought it just somehow I messed up with the scheduling of the newsletter, so I went to check, but everything, the newsletters showed published status. In fact, some people even opened it. It's like, okay, what is it? Then I went to my spam folder, and it was there. It was flagged by Google saying, this newsletter is most likely spam, and it's dangerous because it contains links that have been known to steal other people's emails. I'm like, what? I use only 3 types of links. One points to the Traveler's Guide for Healing, for the Traveler's Guide for Healing site, which is my Jinshin Jutsu and astrology site. So it's kind of like a how-to site with a lot of resources of how you can do energy flows, Jinshin Jutsu energy flows on yourself, or learn a little bit about the practical astrology I practice. So, and I do this every newsletter, so there's nothing there out of ordinary. And the other 2 or 3 links were actually links to my videos, which are links to my Spotify and my YouTube channels. Again, nothing out of ordinary. So I felt so unfair. And the first reaction is like, oh, those algorithms, I hate them. This is what is happening. It's all about control. But a little bit, once I calmed down a little bit, I was like, okay, hold on. I can play that game. And this is where it becomes not about if it's true. Maybe it is true that the algorithms are like that, but the deeper choice you play every day is what set of life rules I want to play by. So I could play by, all right, I'm just gonna go argue, I'm gonna remove all the links, yada yada, this Google, being very bitter, being very angry. Or I can play a different set of rules. And the different set is this. Let me see if the world reflects truly my own mindscape. What is this thing reflecting? What is inside that is deeply unfair or something? And then immediately, the moment I said unfair, immediately I saw myself on Sunday throwing that unfair, unkind, uncalled comment about one of my daughter's old friends from elementary school. And these are girls. And again, I'm not saying so. I didn't say something really, really bad, but I don't want to repeat it. There's no need for the unkindness to be amplifying there. This is the reason why I'm not saying it. But, it was unkind comment. And immediately I spotted that unfairness. Now, is it really karma? I don't know. My first reaction is like, aha, karma works fast for the advanced people. And when I mean advanced, it means advanced in your practice. Once you have gone through the steps and you have cleaned up some stuff in the subconscious, you are able to spot those lurking things in your mind much faster. And maybe karma does work faster. But here's the thing. We don't have to follow or use this word karma. It has been used for centuries, for good reason, because it's a useful concept. However, on the flip side, the concept of karma has become overloaded, especially nowadays with internet and social media and almost everybody knowing about it. Everybody has their own idea of what karma is. So I can use it, but chances are most of the people will be like, that is not what I think. That is not what the way how it operates. And then we have to go and have this conversation to clear up the air so I can explain myself. But here it is. There's a cleaner and better way to view it. To view what happened with this, me saying things or doing things that are not up to my new higher standards. First of all, there's a spiritual law that you're held up to standards that match your spiritual awareness. This way, if you go around and you violate spiritual laws, but you're unaware, you're not picking up bad karma. You're not picking up a lot of guilt. You are, in a sense, excused. Like little children in school, if they let's say mess up the grammar, they're excused if they excuse me, if they're in kindergarten, but they're not excused if they're in high school. So this is how the spiritual law operates for all of us. And so as you are growing and elevating your spiritual awareness, you're being held up to that level of accountability. And so this is why someone can actually throw such an unkind comment and it will be never on their radar because they haven't reached that level of awareness to know that that's unfair. But for me, I knew better. I knew better. I knew better to pay for my shoes immediately. And you can say, well, you know what, forgetting for 1 week, it's not your fault. Yes, for someone whose awareness is at this level. But as you are growing spiritually, that level of accountability grows with your spiritual growth. And for a good reason. I actually like it because as it comes faster, I don't have to wait for a long time for things to accumulate, for consequences to build up, because then it's the longer you wait, the more effort it is to correct the mistake. So this is a mercy in a sense, because the quicker you get the feedback, hey, did you see that? You're not in alignment with that spiritual law. the faster you can actually make the correction, and the less you have deviated from that middle line, which corresponds to effortless reality.